We had a young wrestler, his name was Nick Gervasi, that was killed in a vehicle accident on his way home back to Clarion from Pittsburgh. He was a freshman wrestler, came in the athletic training facility every day. Every day it was yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, sir, thank you, thanks, guys. I hope you have a great day, blah, 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 before he left. We all loved him. And he was killed in this accident. And everybody in at the university, the wrestling team, the volleyball team, all of the people that hung out with the wrestlers, they all got counseling and had access to counseling. And the group of individuals that did not have access to counseling was the athletic training staff. We saw Nick every day, saw him more often than his coaches did. But we had football practice and basketball practice and all of the other stuff going on. So you just do what you do. So a couple of weeks later, I get a telephone call from this guy from New Jersey. His name's Dave. I knew of Dave. I didn't know Dave well. I'd never worked with him, but he said, hey, just wanted to call and see how you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, good. It is what it is. And he said, I hear you had a wrestler that was killed in a vehicle accident. I said, yeah, I did. I said, it was rough. I mean, it's still rough. Our staff is still struggling with it. And so am I. I said, we loved this kid. He was just incredible. And he said, well, how are you? Good. I said, we got football practice and basketball practice and blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, that's not what I asked. He said, how are you doing? And we sat and talked on the phone for about 45 minutes. And I learned during that period of time that he was trained in peer-to-peer crisis management and counseling. And so it's my parting shot with the NATA as board when I was going off as president. I told them in that board meeting, I said, look, this is what happened to me. I said, this is something that perhaps the NATA should look at because it's something that our athletic trainers go through that I don't think we have had a handle on in the past. And I said, and I think we need to look at it. And that forward-thinking, wonderful group of individuals set aside $180,000 to start the AT's Care Commission. And at the present time, we have athletic trainers in 50 states that are trained in crisis management that can be accessed when bad things happen to athletic trainers. But here's the other end of that story that may be the most important part of that story is that a year later, I was being inducted into the Pats Hall of Fame. I was going to talk about Nick Gervasi and AT's Care and the things that had happened since then. Do you realize that since 2017 to 2026, in 11 years, do you realize that we have had over 70,000 interventions? That's both students and staff. I'm going to be doing this presentation at Pat's for the Hall of Fame. And I'm getting ready for the speech and blah, blah, blah. And it's a week away. And I was also an adjunct faculty member at California University of Pennsylvania. And I was trying to get my contract signed before I went to Pat's. And I was getting ready to leave. And I just looked at my email one last time. And on my email, there was a message that was from this lady from Cal. And it was one line. And it said, did you know my son, Nick? I didn't know that I was communicating with his mother, but I was able to go on the phone, call her, and tell her that her son's death, although tragic, was now one of the most positive member benefits that the National Athletic Trainers Association has for its membership.